Happy New Year, sorry.
Hello, everyone, and good evening. My name is Miguel, aka Mighty Migs, or for this episode, you can call me Bond, James Bond, because we have an Orpheus panel cast. Unfortunately, not everybody can make it today, but the key people are here. So we have Nathan, the screenplay writer. Thank you for coming on board, along with the main Bond girl, which is Caitlin Lopez. Thank you for coming on board as well. And the villain, Hassan Elkawam, who played Orpheus himself, and it wouldn't have been a movie or a short film without him. And last but definitely not least, we have Jeffim Sheroky, which is the director who led us in all shoot dates. And his passion and his dedication to the editing, along with Nathan, made it even better. But before we go further ahead, I'd like to mention that the sponsor of this podcast episode is Sydney Actors Association. They will open up sometime soon before the end of the year. So if you're interested, just check their Instagram page on the description box below and reach out to my friend Sam Haft if you're an actor looking to sharpen the craft in any way, shape, or form, because this is a good place because I've been there for 5 years and I love it. Good people. And yeah, so reach out to me as well if you want to. But without further ado, give us all an introduction about yourself, starting with you first, Caitlin.
Hello, I am Caitlin Lopez. I am an actor and producer. Been acting since I was a kid and been a producer for about 7 years now. I love being in people's projects. I love creating my own and launched my own production company this year and hope to make 2 feature films. So that should be fun.
And Nathan, please.
Hi everybody, Nathan Bender here. I was the screenwriter for Orpheus, frequent collaborator with Jeffim, also writer-director of the upcoming Night of the Ronin.
Woo! Awesome, yep. Okay. Jeffim, please.
Hi, I'm Jeffim. I was the director on Orpheus. I've dabbled in directing, a little bit of acting, a lot of editing. Yeah, that's me.
Awesome. And Hassan, last but not least, good sir.
Hey everyone, Hassan Elkawam here, professional bad guy actor here, and I play the role of Orpheus, the main antagonist to Bond's life.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you for all those brief introductions. Yeah. So let's go to the. Actually, I'll introduce myself as well, obviously. So I'm Miguel. I played James Bond, James Bond to be precise, and was the producer of this short film. And I'm grateful that everybody, including the people who couldn't make it tonight, with their participation to make this awesome. So yeah, enjoy. But let's go for the next question. So what was the most fun and challenging part about playing your character? Caitlin, you first.
Ooh, I think the most fun was I love that I could play Serene in a way where she was just like this badass character. Like she wasn't, the girl next door, the sort of like weakling damsel in distress. She was very like, I guess, confident in herself and could stand her ground. Like I feel like she was just very much like almost like a bit of a lioness. But I love that I could have a bit of complexity because it's like playing a character where the woman has strength and depth. There's obviously like a vulnerability there as well that I had to play because she was obviously coming to Bond for help. And I think having the complexities of, her ties, I don't want to say too much in case, when people watch it, but having the relationship with the antagonist and things like that. So I think it was quite interesting and challenging to be able to play someone that is strong, yet vulnerable at the same time.
Awesome. Yeah, okay. Well, appreciate that. Nathan, even though you weren't one of the characters, you as a writer, what was the fun part about you as the writer?
Well, the most exciting and fun part about putting this script together was really just bouncing ideas off of Jeff and what he wanted from the film, what you wanted from the film, and how to create something that was a little less a karaoke version of James Bond and sort of something more well-rounded and that contributed to like a James Bond sort of fan film, short film. The really fun stuff was trying to incorporate all the franchise signifiers like the James Bond, shaken not stirred, the gun barrel sequence. How can we do this in a different way that hasn't been done before and try and make it less obvious? Like my biggest win, I think, was the shaken not stirred one because, he always orders it that way. And I thought the big turnaround was that. It's like, okay, maybe she got it wrong, not how he likes it the most. So he gives it more of like a tip of how to do it better. So a lot of that came from like it was like the Timothy Dalton James Bond, when they were sort of deconstructing the tropes and that sort of thing. Less so Skyfall or the classic GoldenEyes, that sort of era. I think the Tim Dalton James Bonds really sort of played with the form before, the Daniel Craig ones did. And I was sort of looking towards that just to keep it a little bit more interesting, fresh, not the go-to, nod, wink, and smile that maybe other short films would have tried. But yeah, that was the most challenging and most rewarding part in writing the script.
Awesome. I'd have to say, in that scene that I had with Serene and Nisa, that was my favorite line that I delivered: shaken, not stirred, So it was, I just had fun delivering that most often because did I just say that? And it's like, oh, that's probably the most iconic bar scene, dialogue that's Mr. Bond ever says in every Bond movie. You know what I mean? So yeah, but yeah, well done. We appreciate that. But Jeff, you as the director, what was the most fun part and challenging part at least as well?
Well, the most fun part, I mean, I'm always a big fan of action, so figuring out that action scene in a tight tunnel is a challenge on its own. I mean, Nathan and I have used that tunnel before as well and fought each other, so I was a little bit familiar with it already. But yeah, the process of, getting in those confined spaces and having that tension build up between the two characters, because that is kind of like the most important part, is the tension between the villain and the hero. We want to savor that moment a little bit leading up to each other so that when the action hits, it hits hard. So I really like that opposite ends of the tunnel. You kind of feel a bit claustrophobic. There's nowhere to go. And then it, culminates into a big epic action scene finale. And my favorite shot, using the tunnel as the gun barrel, kind of, using the lines of the circular. It kind of worked the way I wanted it to work. Because I don't think that's been done before in a James Bond film. So I think that was a nice little extra touch that's still familiar to Bond fans, but also giving them something new. I would say the most challenging part, though, something that really appealed to me, was the dialogue heavy scenes. I haven't really shot a lot of dialogue, so it was a much slower pace to try and get the right pacing and blocking done. Because for action, I love a moving camera, and I move here and then shifting here, and you can cut back and forth. But with dialogue, you got to let a scene play out a little bit longer. And especially with Bond girls and Caitlin and the reveal of Caitlin and her moving and the power dynamics shifting, it's like, how do you show that? So, having them walk around and Caitlin circling Miguel, Serene is circling Bond, sussing him out. So that was really fun to kind of figure out and play with, and not only filming it, but in the edit as well, which, Nathan did the first run through cut of the edit, and it got me so excited because it just looked great.
Yeah, I think that that Roman mantra that I hired out for that scene, that was well, because my intention was to do it in a bar or a restaurant, but they were just doing charge me more, and we could only film in 3 or 4 hours or 5 hours at most. So nah, screw it, I'm gonna go to Mantra again, and it's like a couple of $100 or less than a few $100 each night. So I just decided to do that instead. So, and we don't have that pressure, oh crap, blah, blah, blah. We only have 5 hours to film 2 scenes with Moneypenny as well. And obviously with Serene and Nisa, which is Serene and Nisa. That's the reason why the Orpheus, it's going to lead up to meeting up with Orpheus. We're just having trouble finding Orpheus. So why not? Yeah. So I see what you mean. Good. So yeah. And Mr. Elkawam, give us your thoughts. What is the most challenging part of you playing the character of Orpheus, and what was the most fun?
The most challenging part and most fun. Commander Maros Alexander Demetriou of the British Naval Intelligence Division. That is simultaneously the whole vibe of the character was both simultaneously the most complex, fun, and challenging part. I mean, when you're essentially playing a villain. What I admire about both Jeffrim's and Nathan's take with adding an originality spin on the entire thing. And it shows every single one of us involved. It shows what we're capable of in such a prestigious franchise in the world. What I admire the most is, again, their take on adding some original, he sprinkled some unique things into this, and to play what was initially meant to be a replica, sort of my own addition to Sean Bean's, because I know the entire idea kind of came off of the meeting from Trevelyan and Bond in the GoldenEye film, but with what has been added in since, it has given me more than just thinking from Alec Trevelyan's perspective, and more to just add what I can put in. When it comes to the action, I mean, I already had confidence that I'm able to handle action no matter what. It's one of the first things that ever got me wanting to be in the filming industry, was just to showcase action. But everything else, it was fun. It was fun. It really gave me more of Raul. What was the character's name? What a Bond fan I am! I kind of remember this guy's name from Skyfall. Silver.
Javier Bardem. Yeah,
Javier.
Bardem.
Raul. Who's Raul? Is that his real name? Anyway, yeah, that dude. I had more of that sort of, like, I felt very what's the word? He just has that charisma. He can be very charismatic. Like, if you were to showcase more of Maddox's life, maybe where Bond and Maddox have gone on prior missions in the past before the whole switch up happened, I felt like there's a lot. Like, he would have been a very fun villain to look into the backstory of. But really, the best way to put it is that weirdness that I was able to put in there, thanks to the takes of Jeff and Nathan, was simultaneously the most fun yet challenging part of shooting Orpheus for me.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh, those are good answers there, brother. So yeah, I think, you and I had a different perception of how, because when we were rehearsing our dialogue just then, remember at my work at Anytime Fitness St. Leonard's, yeah, you were a bit more serious, and that's what I thought as well. But when we came to filming day, that scene, I mean, Jeff was just like telling you to be more like comical or just a bit of a douche and all that stuff, and like, oh, this is even better. So yeah, yeah, but I'm liking that. Yeah, so without Jeff's and Nathan's guidance in this whole thing, I don't think we would have played the roles very well. So yeah, but from my end, obviously the most fun is playing Bond, the most iconic, like, spy in cinematic history. And it's just like, I've become a big fan of it in the past 5 or 6 years. But I wasn't a Bond fan growing up. But the thing was, it started when I used to bartend in Munich Brauhaus in the Rocks. And the funny thing is, 2 German girls were talking in German in front of me, like, just like bartending right next to me. And they're talking about James Bond in German. And they said to me out of nowhere, "Hey, Miguel, you're an actor, right?" It's like, "Yeah, how did you know?" He goes, "Oh, we're friends on Facebook now." And then they said that, "We think you play James Bond very well." I'm like, "Me? But I'm Asian. But look at me." And then they're like, "Sorry." And then that's when it started growing. And then, the more I had shifts with those girls, they started calling me James. "Hey, James, how are you?" And all of a sudden it just started getting into my head. And then, kaboom. Long story short, the first short film with Amelia was very fun to play that role, because it's just like, now I'm going to get to play James Bond finally. But then without Hassan's encouragement to do the third short film, I don't think I would have done it. So I said, yeah, let's do it, but let's make it more action-based this time instead of comedy. And then you as Alec Trevelyan and I as Bond were going to have a fight scene, but then all of a sudden it turned into Orpheus thanks to Nathan.
And it happened.
But cool, yeah. Anyway, so let's go to the next question now. Okay, so after completion of the post-production of Orpheus, which scene did you enjoy watching most and why? Starting with you, Caitlin.
I feel like I'm probably answering this like not the way it should be answered, but I liked the whole thing. Like, I liked it as a whole. Like, I feel like for me it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I love it. Okay, like, to be fair, the fight scene was like sick. So that was really, really cool to watch and see how you guys like acted in it and how you brought it to life. And then obviously like Jeffim and Nathan, like how you actually pieced that together, like from a directing and filming and editing standpoint. Like, I was like, wow, that looks sick, and the location amazing. But I think like overall, just seeing it from start to finish, it was like all the elements just came together really well. And it was just really cool to see, the part that everyone played, come to life. So it was just enjoyable because it was all different. Like each scene just had a different vibe. So that was really cool to see it, transition through. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's a good answer. Yeah, each to their own. But what about you, Nate?
Oh, to pull back the curtain a little bit on the editing scene of it, because Jeff and I were cutting it together, we're watching it unfold in front of us. I mean, before I even got to the action scene, I knew that was going to be, we're going to have no dramas with that. But as Jeff said, he hasn't shot a lot of dialogue scenes before. So it was going into these dialogue scenes. I say like editing is like opening up Christmas presents. Like, what have I got to work with here? And I was having so much fun with the dialogue scenes. I was sort of like getting sort of bummed out because I was going to run out of dialogue scenes to cut together. And, Caitlin's scene where, you, Caitlin, and Bond meet for the first time, I was really pleased with how that sort of played out when it was finished, when we'd done all the cut and we watched it through and Jeff added the music in later, and seeing that with the color grade, that sort of was like, oh, this is jumping into really sort of interesting blocking and back and forth, and like the power shift. Caitlin's character really sort of took over, and as you mentioned, like a lioness, it's like I don't detect any sort of vulnerability here until she wants you to see that. So that was really, really interesting to see that turn and that ride that character went on. And when Orpheus and Bond meet for the first time, that whole dialogue, I did a rough assembly, but Jeff really went in there and fleshed it out with the shots of the feet and then the close-ups as they're coming in. And to build on what Huss said about the script and how we sort of gave him some room to breathe, I had no idea he was going to play it as theatrically and as operatic as he did. So that choice came out of nowhere and totally worked for the character. So I was all on board for that. So when I'm playing the take through and he does his big thing, then he knocked me out of my chair. I was like, whoa, where did this come from? But the dialogue scenes I thought were really, really fun to watch.
Well, come to think of it, because like Hassan and I were talking about it after we finished watching the whole thing the first time, right? Because he didn't really read the script from beginning to end. He was just memorizing his own thing. But then he watched it from beginning to end, and he said, "Oh no, that lead up makes sense to my scene." That's what he said. So, I mean, correct me if you think I'm wrong here, Hass, but that's exactly from what exactly. Yeah, but but that imagination of yours, that's creative thinking of yours for the script, just made it even better. I can't really say that enough to emphasize how grateful this script became even better. So obviously Ruby's not here, but who played Moneypenny? But Moneypenny said to herself, like, the day we were filming our scene, and after Caitlin and Chelsea actually left, the script is even better. So yeah, bloody oath. I mean, I'm grateful. So yeah, but it is what it is. Thanks, Nate. Yeah. Did you have any further comments to add before we go to Mr. Sheroky himself?
Well, just to go back to the Moneypenny scene, that scene was really tricky to edit because I'd run into a point where the blocking is sort of wasn't working the way I thought it was going to work, and like the dialogue didn't match up. And Jeffim came in with the save that day because he was like working on something else in the lounge room. I was in the edit suite and I was just swearing my head off trying to get something to work. He sort of wanders in and said, "Why don't you try this?" And that was just like the magic fix that made that really come together, and just really, I was against the wall, didn't know where to go with it, but just having that fresh set of eyes and a director coming in with a suggestion really made that scene fun. And that's a great scene too, watching what was the actress who plays Moneypenny? What's her name?
Ruby Jensen.
Ruby, she did really well with just sort of that restrained flirting that Moneypenny is trying to do. She's trying to stay professional, but also enjoying her time with James Bond. But yeah, just wanted to touch on that because I thought she did a fantastic job.
Yeah, I thought so too, yeah. And especially with her UK dialect, her UK dialect was spot on in my opinion, yeah. But what about you, Mr. Sheroky? tell us, answer this question in your own terms, good sir.
Well, sorry, what was the question again?
Oh, that's okay. After the completion of post-production of Orpheus,
favorite
which
scene?
scene did you enjoy watching most and why?
Watching. Well, building on what Nathan said, you know, coming in with the save, it was also my fault that there was a problem to begin with. But like that scene was actually quite hard to film because I had a mic on a stand. You know, we didn't have a boom operator, but the characters were moving around quite a bit, and it's the end of the day. And so there was one little line of dialogue that just didn't work because the mic didn't pick it up well enough, and there was a shot that just didn't work. And then yeah, that's how we kind of cut it out. And we're like, oh, this actually works really well now. So a lot of the time, yeah, films do get saved in the edit, and yeah, Nathan putting it together. I was chilling on the couch because I've only got one computer to edit off, and it was very relaxing, just snoozing, listening to the random coming out of the bedroom, out of the editing room. But no, that was really fun. So I guess my favorite scene to watch, I mean, fight scene, but again, I think it was I really liked Caitlin's scenes. Again, that vulnerable, that tough persona until she's ready to reveal her vulnerable side. And I filmed that on a Helios 44-2, which is like an old vintage lens. It's really good for those like tight shots, and it's sort of dreamy kind of look. And I don't know, I just really like that. Like that was too hard to film an action scene on that lens, but for the dialogue scenes, shot completely on that lens of 55mm. And I love the look of it. And I think, you know, that hotel room, it wasn't a bad looking hotel room, but it also wasn't like a, you know, James Bond suites penthouse. But I think, you know, with lighting and angles and, you know, lens choices, we're able to really up that production value. And I really like the look. And, you know, we're limited on lights as well. And I'm just really happy with how that specific scene with lighting, dialogue, blocking, all of it came together. But
That's
I have been known to watch that fight scene a lot as well.
It's the most addicting part of the whole thing. I hate to be biased, but that's very addicting. Yeah, but it's a funny coincidence to see, Nate. I don't know if you're aware, but when you wrote room 809, and then when I checked in that day, the receptionist said, "Oh, you're upstairs at room 809." I'm like, what? Did she read the script? I don't think she did. Okay, which is just a wild coincidence. There was the script says room 809, and you know the actual room that we actually hired was room 809 as well. So I was just like, yeah, what a wild coincidence. I just couldn't stop laughing because I was going to suggest to Jeff, in case the room isn't 809, which it probably wasn't, let's change the script in room 808 or 8810 or whatever you call it. Yeah, but cool. Any last comments to that as well, Jeff?
No, just fantastic job by Caitlin and Chelsea, who couldn't be with us as well. You know, I filmed so much of her making that martini, but it barely made it into the edit, which I was a bit disappointed because it was like, it just didn't work with the flow. But yeah, shout out to Chelsea for cutting and pouring liquid in 50 different angles until I was happy.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, during that day of filming that part scene, I think I drank at least a liter of that olive oil water. You know what I mean? And for the rest of for the rest of the day, even though I brushed my teeth, we had some Thai for lunch and all that stuff, right? I could still taste that olive oil in my mouth for the rest of the day. Yeah, olive oil, water. No, but olive oil is good for your skin. So I'm like, okay, it doesn't taste the best, but I'll just take it because, and plus I had lack of sleep that night. So, okay, it's going to make my skin glow anyway. So for the rest of the day, but yeah. Okay, last but not least, Mr. Hassan Elkawam, Orpheus himself. Do you want me to repeat the question again or you remember?
No, I think I got it. And probably the part where I get my ass kicked. No, it's, you know what? On the real though, it's, I think we're on the right trend with our answers when it comes to the question, because to talk about the entire thing being the most enjoyable thing to watch, and I've got to agree, it's from the opening shot of Tabby to Caitlyn's scenes. Because, look, the way I looked at it was you could start this entire thing from the beginning of Bond meeting Orpheus. And it may seem like its own separate short film, just as a meetup, fight scene, boom. Then you watch the first half of it, and there's actually a backstory that I felt for a short film, for what, a 7 to 9 minute short film, if I'm around the mark there. There's a good amount of backstory, and it comes to the credit of the writing as well, man. The writing, there's a lot of communication about Bond's previous mission, and he's trying to find who Orpheus is, and it leads right back into an old friend. And I enjoyed the backstory of the entire thing. And you're right, Miguel. Like I skimmed through the script, but only focused on my bits because there was quite a bit of dialogue, especially for that scene for Orpheus. I wanted to make sure I got it down to a T. But in hindsight, perhaps it was what made the first half of Orpheus quite magical for me when I watched it.
And that script was in Greek as well.
Yeah.
I have absolutely no clue what you said, so I'm assuming you got it right. So,
you know how many times I tried to. Go on, sorry. I thought Caitlin was saying something.
No. I was laughing at the fact you had no idea what he was saying. I was like,
sounds good to me.
I've practiced it so many times, and I had people comment and say, "Yeah, it sounds more Arabic than it does sound Greek, though." I spoke Greek in an Arabic dialect, or so. Yeah, it was fun. That was funny, but no, like I was gonna say, Caitlyn's got amazing presence on screen. I enjoyed that scene a lot as well because it brought so much backstory that I personally rarely see a backstory that fleshed out for a short film. I enjoyed that a lot. I could easily go, I love the action, obviously, and you get to see my own crazy hair going everywhere, left, right, center, up and down. It was fun, but the backstory to a short film like that, I really admire the work that's been put into it from the writing perspective, the directing as well, very classy. Like you pointed out, the room you guys were in wasn't that insane, but it wasn't obviously like that bad either. But the way it was shot, the martini, the shots of Ruby and everybody else, and even again the opening scene of Tabby walking on screen, it's so Bond. That whole entire collaborative effort, I think, just is what made the entire thing a pleasure to watch.
Oh, that's awesome, bro. Yeah. I think the whole thing from start to finish was just you get hooked because the way Nate and Jeff actually edited the whole thing, it was upbeat. Because when something's upbeat like that, it gets people hooked. And it kind of reminds me of, I know it's a different movie overall franchise when I say this, but Top Gun Maverick, from the beginning to end, it gets you hooked because it has that feel good or that upbeat beginning, especially the Dark Star bit. So it kind of reminds me of that bit where, and especially me as Bond, answer the phone because Money Penny calls. And meets her later on a few hours later, and it all just makes sense because we didn't have to do that pool scene, but I just wanted to add some old school Bond elements into it, so but the funny thing is that I offered it to the girl I'm seeing at the moment, but she's never done anything like this. And she's just like, no, I don't want to be in front of the camera just like that because I'm too shy. It's like, okay, I'm not going to force you to do anything. But then I added a post on one of the model sites, modeling pages on Facebook groups. And then, the funny thing is that when 6 or 7 girls expressed their interest, none of them looked like Bond girls. They didn't really look classy. Then I saw Tabby's post and I got to read Tabby. And then Tabby rang after a couple of beats and I offered it. She goes, yes, I'd love to. Now we got another Bond girl for the pool scene, which is awesome, yeah. So, but it is what it is, yeah. But did you have any further comments before we go to the next question here, Hassan?
No, happy with what I said. God forbid the next thing that comes out of my mouth about the topic will just ruin everything I said before that.
Awesome, yeah. Well, for summary from my end, there's obviously Well, I love watching the fight scene, obviously, as well. Just like everybody else here. For me, it was the most fun, but obviously the most tiring film to see, to shoot. Remember, like how we had to film that fight scene after midnight, and then normally I'm in bed by 10:30 or 10 p.m. And that was the hardest bit, but it was well worth the sacrifice, and that's why, as soon as Jeff said at the end of like close to 3 a.m., that's a wrap. I felt like I made Hollywood already. So for some reason, I don't know why, but I just felt like a few $1 million just filming that. Did you feel that way as well, Hassan?
That was a workout, man. It really, yeah. I mean, if I got back home and the family would see me walk in the house, if they would still be awake at 3 a.m. and they see my jacket all ripped up and my hair all gone crazy. I mean, I had that slicked back and gelled, and by the end of the shoot, you guys could see it just went everywhere. It looked like Jeffrim's hair almost. So,
Excuse me?
so it was a wild night, and I mean it in the best way.
3 guys in a tunnel. What happens in the tunnel stays in the tunnel.
But remember in one of the takes, like, there's a couple like looking behind us when we were filming. They were like, look worried that we were fighting. Yeah. So, and they're like, oh, what, go ahead. Like, they look worried. They literally look worried. Do you remember that, Jeff?
Yeah, it's not used that much, but definitely a few people walking through there, and 3 guys looking a bit roughed up. It can be a bit of an intimidating thing to walk past, but most of them were just pretty curious and wondering what was going on.
Yeah, there was that specific couple. They were just like looking worried and like, oh no, we're just filming. So yeah. All right. So next question. This is a very simple one. You probably already answered this, but feel free to answer it even more in detail if you want to. How did you enjoy playing your character, Caitlin?
Well, first I just want to say, guys, you're so sweet. You said so many nice things, and I appreciate it. I was just like, oh gosh, what did I enjoy?
The dress.
Oh, the dress, man. Ooh, that dress was so nice. I feel like when you play like a Bond girl, or like you play some sort of like, upper class, like, rich type character, it's like the outfit just it helps you get there as well. So being in that full on like almost black gown like sort of thing, I was just like, yes, I feel like a boss right now. This is great. I could barely breathe, but it was like, it was great. Yeah, and then I had like the jewelry and stuff like that. That was supplied by TVSN actually, so shout out to them. But yeah, I think what was just really enjoyable was like working with you guys. Like it's always working with your other like actors, where you can bounce off of the chemistry, and just be able to react and be in that space. Like it was really great. The 3 of us with Chelsea, it was like we were all so different in characters that it was just so interesting to see how we bounced off of each other, and how we kind of just read the room and reacted. So I think that like that was really enjoyable to see how like, because obviously being Bond, it's like most people would be quite intimidated and, be like, oh my gosh. And then I was just like, I don't think that she would be very intimidated. She's around some pretty rough, like from talking about the character and her background and who she's associated with. I was like, she'd be around some pretty tough men. So I don't think she's easily intimidated. I think she would intimidate. And she would have to kind of like, what you guys were saying. It's like holding in that vulnerability and that fear and things like that. It's like show no fear, show nothing, because you've got to keep I guess that power. So I think that was really, really enjoyable to just play that whole thing of like, I don't know you and I have to trust you, and I don't trust a lot of people because I've been probably stabbed in the back a lot of times, but I have no choice. So I'm gonna staunch you up a little bit so that you can know, like, don't mess with me, but like please help. Like it was just this like interesting moment. So that was really fun. And then I love working with Chelsea. Like she's just gorgeous. And so to have that, it was almost like that golden retriever and black cat energy that everyone talks about. Like Chelsea's like the golden retriever and I was the black cat. So it was just very different. So yeah, so it was very fun in many ways. I enjoyed the whole thing.
Yeah, I have to agree with that because remember, like, Chelsea's character, wasn't meant to be a part of the thing. But the thing was, when she saw my post on one of the Facebook groups, she said, I'd love to play it. And I don't think she would suit to play the role of Serene or Money Penny because I think it's her age, in my opinion. But at the same time, I just love her persistency, how she's always been nice to me and all that stuff. So that I'm going to create a new character for you, and you're going to be like, the best friend of like Serena. Like, remember, the original character's name was Serena, and then when I didn't have to audition her because I've already met her online a couple of times before and all that stuff. So yeah, but the thing was, when I reached out to you and I saw a couple of pictures of you and her together, I'm like, okay, I think I'm making the right decision here. And then that's why, like, before we did a proper audition for you, I said, look, I want you to nail it because I want you to prove Chelsea right, that you're right for the role, because there's going to be natural chemistry there already, you know what I mean, on screen, because of real life, how you guys get along together, and you're very close, and you're like, you're like sisters for life or whatever you call it. So yeah, so I think it worked out well. So yeah, so well done. Yeah, so Chelsea, shout out to you if you're hearing this. Yeah, we hope you well and have fun wherever you are. I can't remember where you're at this long weekend. Yeah, so forgive me. Anyway, Nathan, so you as the screenwriter, you already said this already, but just give us more detail of what you enjoyed most as being the screenwriter for this one here, in more detail, if you want.
Oh, in more detail, what I enjoyed about doing the screenwriting, well, I always want to keep practicing and still keep writing. So I'm usually just writing something, every other day, and whether it be my own projects or just ideas, just to keep that muscle alive, awake, exercise. It's just like training any other muscle. Like, you stop using it, it stops working the way it needs to. So even though it's like, Jeff's asked for this script to be enhanced or whatever, this is well outside the norm of what I would normally be writing. Doing that sort of like sort of that fan film, but especially fan film going towards more spy espionage stuff, that's really just not in my writing wheelhouse. So it sort of like it pushes you to try different things and be more expansive in terms of like what sort of world you're allowed to create here. In terms of like Haas mentioned, like, hey, the backstory of each of these characters was really, really neat. You could start with Orpheus and James Bond working at the start, but I tried to do that with each of the characters. Like with Serene's character, like the way Caitlin was playing it, you can write all these lines that suggest backstory as, fill it up. But if they're not delivered with the gravitas and the weight that need to be said, they could just go by over the head or just pass by the viewers. So when Caitlin hits these lines of suggesting that Orpheus has killed friends and family related to her in her past, you can sort of like feel like, okay, there is depth to this character. There's a history there, and you probably could start the film with any of these characters. This is more or less. This could be just as easily Serene's story or Orpheus's story. We were talking about it briefly off camera. I think Caitlin's just joking around. Oh, I wanted Serene to come back and kick both their asses in the end, which would not be out of the norm and would probably work really, really well. And it's all about like the perspective as to whose story is this. And as much as I would have liked to make it all about Orpheus or all about Serene, everyone's trying to space out and give each of these characters equal screen time, but enough impact that they become memorable and, really sort of lay that sort of interest as to what were they doing before this particular adventure? What was happening before and what's happening after? Like the idea, like James Bond wants to know where Serene and Nisa are. That's like, okay, we're still thinking about those characters. They're not just coming in, saying their lines and leaving. You're interested in what they've done before. You're interested in what they're doing right now. That was sort of like the fun sort of aspect, and of doing that sort of screenwriting things. Like you keep world building in the back of your head, you keep backstory in the back of your head.
Awesome, man. I mean, wow. I mean, imagination goes a long way. And when it came, did you get much inspiration from your favorite movies? It didn't have to be Bond. Did you have any inspiration to how you re-edited the whole script, like the way you did?
Based on my favourite movies, there's not a lot of Predator, Batman, Hard Target in James Bond, so you can't really throw in any sort of references or inspiration for that. And those films may be considered shallow. So you want to look at it more like a drama piece, especially these dialogue scenes. So it wasn't really looking at some of my favourite films that are sort of really just on the surface basic action movies. Now you just look at the scenes that inspired this script, and like Serene's character could be I can't remember the girl's name in Skyfall, but she had the backstory that was in human trafficking, that sort of slave labor sort of thing. And you sort of want to build on that and enhance on that in sort of a different way. So I wasn't really looking at my favorite films for this, just looking at what inspired the scenes in those James Bond films, and not trying to draw too much inspiration from them. Just give it something different, but with an equal amount of drama and weight. Something that the actors and actresses can really sort of hook into and use their imagination more than mine.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, you mentioned Hard Target there, but we're going to spend 5 or 10 minutes talking about that. Let's talk about that another time, because that's my favorite Van Damme movie. So, yeah. Thanks for that, Nate. Yep. Well, did you have anything to say?
Hard Target Van Damme, Haas got those kicks like Van Damme, and can't wait to use him on one of my films, because those kicks are very impressive, bruh.
I got excited this thing as well. So, yeah.
Let's hope the pants don't rip this time.
We'll get you
Okay. Jeff, and what about you, good sir? How would you answer that question? Huh?
Which question again? Sorry, it was.
Okay.
I'm just so engaged in Nathan's answer. I don't know.
How did you enjoy playing your character as the director? Huh? I mean,
my character as director.
Mm-hmm.
I liked that each scene brought its own challenges, but also, like the opening scene. It's like, okay, we can film it normally, but I wanted to do like a one take. Always trying to make it harder for myself, and I appreciate your patience. Me, just trying to get the shot right. We got to get this one right, because I want to open strong, and there's something about a longer take, it sort of immerses you in the film a little bit more, and then you have the reveal of Bond. So I really like that opening scene. And then you've got like the dialogue scenes. You've got Caitlin and Chelsea, and balancing three characters and the dynamics and dialogue. So that was different. And then you've got Moneypenny, and it's a whole different dynamic between the two actors, and it's a different location. It's kind of like just in a bedroom, and like, how do we make it interesting? Like sitting on the bed, getting up, fixing a tie, moving from one bedroom to from one side of the bedroom to the other side, and moving around. And then you've got the action scene and that slow build up. So the tunnel scene of is one of my favorites. Just like Haas, you've got that necessary exposition. You caught him monologuing, but it's necessary, and it's interesting, and it builds up to that fight scene, and then the fight scene itself, and I know, just everything kept changing in such a short amount of time. There's so many different things. It wasn't just the same, just shoot over the shoulder, back and forth, bam, 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 and then action. It's every scene felt like its own little short film. Like it could be sectionalized, in each little bit just felt a little bit different from the last one. And yeah, I guess that's what I liked about being the director. And as director, like, I didn't do much directing in the way of actors. I just I was quite getting over being like quite sick that day as well, so I was worried about camera and lighting and sound, and I was just assuming like, okay, I'm just going to let you guys play out, because I'm assuming you've all learned your lines and you know what you're doing, and this isn't the first time you played Bond either, and Caitlin just straight off the bat was a professional. So I was like, okay, this is great. And I had very little input, and Haas as well, of course. Very little input in directing your acting. I really like just how would you let this scene play out? Like in your mind, you have an idea of Bond and Bond villains and Bond girls, and yeah, you guys nailed it. So you guys actually made my job a lot easier, and you made me look good. So thank
Vice
you.
versa. Awesome, brother. Awesome. Yeah, thanks for those answers. Yeah, and Hassan, how would you answer that question there?
It was the freedom I think I enjoyed the most. But look, to ask what I enjoyed the most out of playing Orpheus, I will just tell you straight up, it was the freedom to explore. And I think, again, it was Jeff when he pushed for that very extra, for like a, very just out over the top introduction scene. From that point onwards, I think I had the idea that, you know what, yeah, that's cool. It ain't just, hello, Mr. Bond. Hello, Orpheus. You bad guy. You good guy. And there's a lot of layers, a lot of flavor to Orpheus. But look, the best way I want to answer that is that I've had as much fun playing whilst we were shooting as much as I've had fun behind the scenes. I cherish those moments as well. It was really fun picking Jeffim up on my shoulders to help him tape the lights to get that whole dark tunnel vibe as well. And then I think do I have to lift you up again, Jeff, to untape it, or
I forgot about that actually. Did we get that on camera? Because that was so silly.
Look, that whole fight scene. I'm sure. I think me picking. I mean, you're light. You're very light, but I was sore.
All right. I was shredding, baby.
No, what I'm trying to say is I've had fun doing all
that. No, you're very strong. You're very strong. I felt very safe in your hands.
It was very.
I was like, there's no way Bond's beating this guy.
He knocked me out. I got shot.
He's too powerful.
But those were all what I enjoyed the most, believe it or not. All of this stuff, it's just, like you memorize, you have more memories behind the scenes than you do when you're shooting, obviously. Sort of. And to me, again, when it comes to playing Orpheus, it was the freedom. And obviously, finally able to show what you can do physically on camera from the kicks and the punches and just reacting to the hits. I love watching my hair fly everywhere. I got to mention that again. If people think I might be wearing a wig, I'm not. That hair goes flying upon every punch and kick I copped. But again, yeah, it's really behind the scenes that I really had a lot of fun and fond memories of shooting Orpheus.
Yeah.
Was that good?
Yeah. Yeah, that was good. That was a good answer there, yeah. And I have to say, because remember, like Tabby in the group chat said you should be longer. And because remember, you're thinking about having a haircut as well. But
even now, I need to get one. I'm at my family's. They after this whole thing is done and I've got to go soon, they're going to tell me when you're going to get a haircut.
Grow it out, brother.
I guarantee you.
We can be twins.
I
want nothing more, man.
No, do what Nathan and I do. Just keep it short. It's just more simple, and I just like it short as well. But each to their own, So yeah. But before we move on to the next question, I'd have to say what I enjoyed about playing Bond in this Orpheus was obviously this is more action genre. And if you take a look at the dialogue between Moneypenny and I as Bond, it's more like that playful teasing and just the flirty to an extent. They're just trying to cross that professional border that they have, that even though they're attracted to each other. It was so different to the way my character as Bond was interacting with Serene and Nisa, obviously, because when he gets into that room with Serene and Nisa, it was just all business, and that's why he came across as abrupt and rude. And he was trying to find out, are you going to mock me, or are you bluffing me to lead to this guy named Orpheus? Yeah. But then when it came to the fight scene, it just became he wasn't wearing a suit anymore. He was wearing a similar shirt to what I'm wearing right now, because he knew that I was going to be in combat mode, and that's why my inspiration from that, wearing that white shirt, was Daniel Craig's in No Time to Die, when he was trying to save his wife and daughter, from, what's his name? Can't remember. Rami Malek's character. Yeah. So that's where I got the inspiration to wear something white, and I found that, and I don't wear that shirt anymore either, and that's why when Jeff said, "Oh, just wear something you don't like, so that if it's dirty afterwards, you can chuck it away." I didn't chuck it away; I washed it, but the dirt's still there, and I'm looking to frame it sometimes. I'm gonna get all your autographs and all that stuff, and I'm gonna frame it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to meet up with you guys one-on-one sometime soon. Yeah, to make that happen, but. Awesome. Yep. So let's go to the next question. What we might have to skip the second last one only because for time's sake, because I don't want to hold Hass from his family gathering either. So let's go to the one where it says, which is your favorite James Bond actor and why? So let's go with that one there. Caitlin, you first, please.
Gosh, I think look, I think Pierce Brosnan is pretty cool. I don't know. I just feel like it's this old school, like old money vibes. I just think like the way he plays the character, it's like smooth as butter. Like I don't know. And there's something about look the newer one's great, cinematic, love it. But I don't know. There's just something about like the older movies that I just love as well. I don't know. There's just something about it, the way it's shot, the way I guess they come across. But I just think he's like an OG and carried that James Bond really well. Like very charming.
I have to agree, very elegant. And what about you, Nate?
Well, look, Pierce Brosnan was my first James Bond, GoldenEye being my first movie. So there's a lot of nostalgia towards his performance in that. Very much brings up the boyish charms of James Bond and sort of like doing okay, he's got Sean Connery, Roger Moore, and Tim Dalton rolling in his head as he delivers the lines. So it's sort of like a very familiar but fresh sort of James Bond. But there's something so interesting about Timothy Dalton's portrayal in License to Kill. He feels like he's the one that will straight up murder you without any sort of wink or a smile or second thought. I think because Timothy Dalton generally plays a lot of villains these days. He plays, did an excellent villain in Hot Fuzz and The Rocketeer. Well, having him play James Bond added such a level of menace and threat when he would deliver all his lines, like even to his allies. You think, hey, James is going to turn on Q right here. He's also going to wipe him out as well. So specifically Tim Dalton in License to Kill, that's one that I revisit more often than most other James Bonds. So usually just GoldenEye, License to Kill, Skyfall, Casino Royale. Those are the Bonds that are floating around in mind. But yeah, Pierce Brosnan, Dalton.
Okay, good question. Good answers there to that question. What about you, Mr. Sheroky?
Again, nostalgia. Pierce, he has it. I mean, the OG Sean Connery, I think vibes he had. I mean, he paved the way. Really, he set the tone for every other iteration after him. But I think he was just limited at the time, in the 60s, to really give us an epic, huge Bond. And then you had, I found Roger Moore to be too silly, too parody, too on the nose a lot. And then Pierce was kind of a mixture between the two. It was kind of still had really campy moments, but really hard hitting, serious moments as well. And I know they're the ones that I still revisit the most. I will say, like Daniel Craig, that kind of new gritty reboot worked for me for Casino Royale only. I think that is one of the greatest action films ever made, but it's not a good James Bond film because it doesn't have the campiness. It doesn't have the gadgets. It doesn't have the proper silly tropes that I think need to make James Bond stand out as a James Bond film. To me, that was more kind of a British Jason Bourne almost. And, they had Moneypenny there and they had nice cars and nice locations, but, you trade the names out and it really could be any kind of espionage film. But, if you're watching a movie and you're watching a Pierce Brosnan film, you've never seen it before, you pick up immediately that it's a James Bond film from certain moments in the film. So I think Pierce Brosnan wins best James Bond, but I think Daniel Craig has the best kind of action movie. I think Casino Royale is a perfect action film.
Yeah, I agreed with that because more of a Jason Bourne kind of thing, but at the same time, like, the way Craig played Bond himself was more like the vulnerable type. He wasn't as sleazy, he wasn't as womanizing as well. But I see what you mean, yeah. But I don't think Moneypenny was introduced until Skyfall when it came to Daniel Craig's adaptation. So I could be wrong about that. But I don't think
I probably meant M. Yeah, I don't think Moneypenny was in it until Skyfall. So again, Moneypenny was missing. These little things that, to me, make a James Bond film really stand out. They're cliches, but they're cliches for a reason. They're okay when it works. I think in a James Bond film, cliches are what make a James Bond film. Those throwaway one-liners. I love them so much.
Okay, well, cool. Thanks for that. And what about you, Hass? I already know your answer, but fill us in.
Yeah, look, I agree with everybody. Without question, Pierce Brosnan was the one I grew up in. He got me into the whole entire, it's because of Pierce Brosnan's performance in GoldenEye and obviously the video games. I got into the video game before I even got into the movies, and I thought they made the movie after the game. I'm like, wow, they really replicated every level in the movie based on the game? That's crazy. But to be honest, it was actually that thought that belief I had, which is what led me into ignore that, which was what led me into what led me into really loving GoldenEye even more. Do you know what I mean? Even though you realize later on it was the other way around, but yeah, Pierce Brosnan in GoldenEye really was a lightning caught in a bottle. And the rest of his films as well that I really enjoy, but nothing, maybe a little bit of Tomorrow Never Dies, but nothing beyond that. As much as I loved the films beyond GoldenEye of Pierce Brosnan, nothing catched what GoldenEye did for me. But the films are one thing, the actor is another. Pierce Brosnan, while being my favorite Bond actor, I cannot just say Pierce Brosnan is my favorite Bond actor without also mentioning Timothy Dalton. Timothy Dalton, and perhaps it's already no secret, but Timothy Dalton is the most accurate representation of Ian Fleming's vision of Bond. Because the guy Timothy, that is, he went right back into the novels written by Ian. And he chose not to do what Sean did or Roger Moore did, or even George Lazenby did, adding a little bit of their own flavor into it, which is good, obviously, but it's not always bad, right? To go back to the actual roots and to play a character you're given a role to the way they're meant to be. It's not always bad to do that. And in the case of Timothy Dalton, I think he's done that perfectly well, the best out of anyone, including Daniel Craig, in my opinion. With all respect to every Bond actor, past, present, and in the future, I love Timothy Dalton because he was the very first real dark Bond, the very first, if not still the only most accurate version of Bond. Timothy Dalton almost got the part to play in GoldenEye as well, but obviously things have happened, and it's a beautiful coincidence that Pierce Brosnan got the part as well, because I don't see anyone playing the way. I don't see anyone being able to do what Pierce Brosnan did in GoldenEye. But as the Bond actor, honestly, man, Timothy Dalton, the new writer or the new director of the new Bond film to be filmed soon came out and mentioned when it comes to the casting, which they're going to be doing soon, I think from next year. They want to look for an actor that looks like they can kill you with their bare hands, right? So it creates a lot of mystery now who the hell it could be.
Tom Holland.
Gives me the heebie-jeebies. But look, man, when you look at all the past, when you look at all the past actors, and you think about all of those criteria, Timothy Dalton's the guy that looks like he could do it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I have to say something about that the novel thing, because that new James Bond PS5 game coming out called First Light, and this is a much younger and rookie Bond, like highly trained but very unseasoned. He's only like 26 or 27. And when you take a look at the trailer, he's got a scar here, and then apparently in the novels, he's got a scar there as well. So
That's
yeah,
right.
like from some previous mission or something like that. So yeah, I'm very interested in watching that gameplay. I already seen the first part, but I'm looking forward to watching the whole thing on YouTube. But for me, like everybody else here, Pierce Brosnan. I wasn't a Bond fan growing up, but it was only in the past 5 to 6 years, like I said before. But at the same time, like, the only really good James Bond film that was acted by Pierce himself was GoldenEye, in my opinion. Tomorrow Never Dies wasn't so bad. It was okay at best. But other than that, I didn't feel like it was actually as good as, like, let's say something like Skyfall or something like that. But, like, going to my second best one is Daniel Craig, because he was very modern, very rugged, and he's more like a soldier or SWAT team member type. And that's the reason why I like him. And Skyfall, I can't get enough of that movie because it's become my second favorite movie of all time now. So I had to answer that myself as well. So, yeah, and that's just me. But, yeah, let's have a few minutes of open dialogue. Talk about anything before.
I have a question for you guys then, reflecting on what you've just been talking about. Miguel, who would be your pick as the new James Bond? Haas, who would be your pick as the villain to that Bond? And Caitlin, who would you pick as a Bond woman?
Oh,
Caitlin, you first.
I need time to think. That's a really good question.
Oh, well, I'll answer that first then. Yeah, I think Henry Cavill or Tom Hardy would be a bit too old now because he's nearly 50. But yeah, Tom Hardy could have played Bond in my opinion, but I guess nobody else except for Henry Cavill, because he's got the demeanor in my opinion, and he's a pretty boy himself. So that's just my opinion about it. Yeah. So yeah, what about you, Nate?
Come back to me on that one. I don't know any modern actors.
All right, in history, who would you choose? No age, throughout, whatever actor that you think would play the best James Bond from any era.
From any era? Mate, I'd give it to Hugh Jackman. I would love to have seen what he could have done with James Bond.
True.
You know, he can do a British accent really well, do American accent really well, carries himself with, like, strength and sort of a strong physicality that he brought to Wolverine and everything like that. And, you know, he's no stranger to playing more eloquent characters and that sort of thing. So commitment-wise to, like, the stunts, the fights, getting in shape, the accent, you know, there's no more committed actor I would have liked to have seen, you know, outside of who's coming next. Like, if I was go back in time and get that sort of cast and get a new set of James Bond films, I would have loved to have seen what Hugh Jackman could have done with the role, more so than, say, like your Tom Hardys or your Henry Cavills. I don't know. It just seems like, you know, I would like to see someone outside of American or England have a go at again. Sort of bring back the prestige that was lost when George Lazenby had a crack at James Bond. You know,
Well,
maybe
Hugh Jackman was
the
actually
Aussies could bring one back.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman was actually born in the UK. He wasn't born here.
Now get out of here.
Yeah, look at his IMDb. Unless IMDb's lying, I mean, that's just then. Yeah, look, that's the thing, right? Ever since Orpheus, I've sent the link to Orpheus to the Eon group and Amazon group already. So the Eon group said they like it, but they don't have the rights anymore. Amazon group haven't replied yet. They said, like, I like to, put my hand up to play the role of Bond, or at least a fellow MI6 agent, or so maybe the villain. But whatever happens meant to happen. Yeah. But what about you, Caitlin, and Caitlin first before Hassan? How would you answer that question?
I feel like they should just get me on there to play the Bond girl. That's great. Shout out. No, I think I think Florence Pugh would be amazing.
Florence
I think I love her emotional depth. So I think she'd be able to play like a Bond girl really well.
Florence Pugh. I'm going to Google her up as we speak. Yeah, keep talking. Yeah,
I know who she is.
Oh, shame on me, right?
So much.
No,
you guys know her though, right?
Yeah.
Jeff
Yeah.
and...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, where have I seen
Black
this
Widow's
before?
sister. She's been in heaps of stuff.
Yeah.
Midsummer.
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer.
I really liked her in what was that 1950s alternative world with
Oh, with Harry Styles?
Darling something Darling, I think it was.
Yes. Hello, Darling? No.
Something like that, where it had Harry
remember.
Styles in it.
Yes. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't remember the name. But yeah, I think her, and there's another actress that's like on my mind, and I can't remember her name, but she was in that she played Marilyn Monroe.
Oh yeah. Oh, Anna de Armas. She was a
Already.
Bond girl.
Isn't she a Bond girl?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No
okay.
Time to Die. Yeah.
Someone like her, like that sort of vibe. But for some reason I just can't think of anyone at the moment, so I'll get back to you.
Well, okay. Well, put in the comment section. We'll upload this on YouTube. And you, Hassan?
I've got a few names in mind, but I really want to mention the one that perhaps none of you may know of. For a Bond villain, that is. Has anyone
No.
ever watched Hannibal Rising?
Don't think I
figured.
have, man.
Okay, Hannibal Rising. I believe that's the name. The main actor of Hannibal. He was a young guy during the time of the film when it came out in like the mid 2000s, but he has since passed away. Very horrible accident, and the guy had a look to him, and had just look him up, and you can tell the guy could have had an incredible bright future in the filming in the industry. For some reason, that film stuck with me. It may not be at all one of the all-time greatest Hannibal films at all. In fact, again, it's not often talked about. But the guy that plays as Hannibal, basically a younger version, how he grew up to become Hannibal, is basically what the film is. And for some reason, just the guy always stuck to me as someone that could either have played Bond or, now that you mention it, the villain. Have a look him up. He's got a weird name. He has a bit of
I saw it. Yeah.
European background, I think, but English
Yeah, I saw
accent.
his
Yeah. Very young guy. He's I think he would have been a crazy Bond villain and might have gotten there at some point in his life.
Gaspard Ulliel. I don't even know how to say it.
Yeah. Very weird name, but yeah, he was great in Hannibal Rising. Had that very classy, very
He died recently, yeah.
Yeah, what you would come to expect from a very classy English, actor in this very poshy style of, that was a bit of his character. He had that in him, and he was able to do that very well. And I could totally see a Bond villain out there with that same sort of charisma. He would have been the perfect fit in my view. Same.
Yeah, he'd look like. Yeah, keep talking.
Yeah, no. Just it's a shame that his life ended very early, because I don't know what he has done before then, and I've never seen him in anything other than that film. I'm sure he's done plenty, but it just goes to show it's that potential that he had and a talent that he really he had so much more to give. I wanted to mention. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
No, look. I mean, he just looks like the bad rogue MI6 agent, and he was born the same year as me at 1984.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was only 38 when he died. I'm not even 38, 37. Shit.
Too young, man. Too young. Yeah. Again, he had a look that always just stuck with me as just that evil bastard, But I had other names in mind as a villain. Cillian Murphy would kill it, no doubt about it, no question about it. He's my top 2 favorite actor of all time. That guy, Rupert Friend, I think his name is.
Bond as well, yeah. Like back in the day when he was younger, I reckon Cillian would have made a good Bond.
Oh yeah, 100% he would have. Maybe Rupert. I forgot his last name. Rupert Fend. Friend.
Oh yeah.
I think it's Rupert Friend. I think he would have made a good Bond villain as well.
Wow.
Wasn't he Prince Charming?
I know that he was Hitman. He was Hitman in the second film. Agent 47.
I thought that was Timothy Oliphant. Yeah, but I could be wrong.
First one, I think. There's 2 of them. two Hitman films, and Rupert played him in one of them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're probably right about that. Yeah. Awesome. Now, did we have anything other topics to say? Anything else to say before we conclude momentarily, everybody?
Well, I have a question for the actors in the film.
Mhm.
I'll start with Caitlin first because just Jeffim and myself, we don't get the chance to work with actresses all that often. And me, I don't get to write a lot of female characters. Like, I've got the two-parter question here. Is like, if I get your opinion, what did you think of the characterization of Serene? Did it ring true? Did it ring cool? You know, does it sound like things that a female character would say? And two, was it like taking direction from Jeffim and collaborating on the scenes in terms of like blocking and line readings? He said he gave a lot of freedom there, but I just wanted to get your side of that.
Good question.
Thank you.
Jeffin was such a headache. He was such a diva on set, actually. Like, he just wanted, like, green M&Ms, and that's all he wanted. Like, he just made us all do, like, the lighting and stuff, and just everything he wanted, you know, whilst he just chilled.
Classic freak.
Yeah.
Yeah, where's
No.
my trailer?
No, Jeffin was freaking awesome, man. He was like a one-man band. Super professional. Very I like to really calm demeanor. Like, sometimes on set it can be really stressful, or there's a lot going on, and like people's I guess their energy or like the way they are can really like jump out at you, and it can affect you as an actor. But no, he was just very like chill, very like knew what he was doing, and there was a confidence to that. But working with him, it was like there was a lot of creative freedom. If there was any ideas that came to mind, like, you'd share them and you'd be like, yep, cool, that's great. Maybe like we could try this or blah, blah, blah. Like, you'd kind of give your 2 cents. But yeah, it was definitely a lot more creative freedom. And I also felt like I could share my ideas or like what I'm thinking and bounce off of him as well as the rest of the actors. So so that was really, really nice to come on set like that. In terms of like the script itself, I think it was really great. I think what I really liked was I think at the beginning, because you guys changed it, it kind of shifted, and I liked the later shift because sometimes I find that in scripts it's like they'll make the woman quite helpless, or like they will make her kind of very like, oh no, what do we do? Or like, I don't know, just ways that they could be portrayed and stuff. And I think the way that it was written, I could make her have layers, and I could do it in a way that was like, it wasn't just this in your face, like, I'm scared, help me, like I'm helpless, I'm vulnerable, because she wasn't, like, she did have this strength in her, and she did have this power to her. But it was nice because in a way I could show that strength and power, but I could show that human side of her and that vulnerability, because a lot of the time there is that, people talk about feminine energy and that softness about women, but she wasn't, because she's clearly seen things, she's clearly been through stuff, so she's very shut off, she's very walled, she's like, I'll beat you up if I need to, like I know how to do it, or I've got people. So I think the way that you wrote it gave freedom to actually showcase both of those elements to a woman, because yes, women are strong, like we go through a lot, we deal with a lot, like we have to be strong in society, but there is this like beautiful nurturing vulnerability to a woman as well. So being able to showcase both of that, and also like, I don't know, in my head I'm like, there is such a divide between men and women right now, like if you see it all over social media, and I was just kind of like, no, like if we just kind of just shush for a second and calm down, there's a beautiful essence about men, and there's a beautiful essence about women, and when we work together, and we go, okay, well, there's strengths and weaknesses that a man has and a woman has, but they complement each other. So in those moments it's like, okay, I actually can't get the job done, or I can't take care of myself, or something happened, but I need help from this person that knows how to do something and this and that and blah blah blah. And so it's this kind of thing of like, okay, like it was a beautiful little dance, I think, in that moment where yeah, she's well respected, knows how to hold her ground, but could finally feel safe enough to let her guard down a little bit. So yeah, kudos to you guys for the way that you, I guess, worked with that script and grew it, which is cool.
Awesome. And you, Hassan, how would you answer that question?
Well, first, beautifully said, Caitlin. And look, to me, her character is like you took Xenia on a top from GoldenEye, made her less batshit crazy, but still kept her in that position where she is sort of really under the barrel here. Because this might sound weird, but when I think of Serene, and for some reason, again, it gave me Xenia on a top, almost that kind of level of vibe. But if there was another universe where Xenia came to Bond asking him for help because this crazy guy, I'm really under the gun at the moment, and I've got no one else to turn to, and I could die doing this. So that's the kind of vibe I get. Basically, what everyone has been like, I echo all what your thoughts are about it, because my thoughts are the same. And yeah, it really is a take on, just if there's a way to show Bond girls taking a stand and just mustering the courage to get out of a tough spot, Serene is a prime example of that, no question about it.
That's very good. Yeah, I think, the way you guys answered that, I think, Serene was, the character was more like, for me anyway, personally, was, I can't remember what the girl's name was, like, that character where he meets up with her, Bond meets up with that character in Macau, like, how much do you know about fear? All there is. I think it reminds me of that as well, but the not the slave version, but just more like the boss babe kind of version of that. So yeah, so that's why in a way, like you showed that strong independent woman, so kind of thing that you're trying to project, which is an awesome thing. And when you said to Bond, it's like the name, please. What's your name before we go to business? He finally says his name. Then you let your guard down, and then you try to tell him like this is what's happening right now, and this is the reason why I'm willing to set you up at Orpheus. So you did that well. You showed the vulnerable side towards the end. Now Bond knows why you're reaching out to MI6, and you can trust Bond to, to neutralize him. And plus, the character of Orpheus obviously had some secrets that MI6 had to, neutralize him for as well. So that's why it worked out both ways. Yeah. So yeah, that's the way I look at things. Yeah. So well done for playing that role and being the main Bond girl. Yeah. But anyway, I think we might conclude there because I think, Hassan has to go soon. He wants to join his family. But yeah, but if you haven't done so, everybody who's watching, please press the like and subscribe buttons below. And that'll be greatly appreciated because episodes and like this will be more encouraged if you do so. And thank you for tuning in and have a good day, everybody. Until the next episode, adios.
Appreciate you guys all. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.